2023 Special Board of Education meeting to order. I call upon Dr. Wendy Miller, Superintendent, to take a roll call of the Board of Education, please.
Good evening, board members. Mr. Brent Manning.
Present.
Mr. Scott Murphy.
Present.
Miss Naomi Clark. Miss Jennifer Dacey. Present. Mr. Carr Ipop.
Present.
Miss Lauren Kitzinger.
Present.
Miss Kelly Buse.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. I will make mention, in speaking with Ms. Clark today, that she had a death in her family and could not be here with us tonight. So we keep her in our thoughts and prayers and her family. At this time, I would like to remind the board that there can be no amendments to the agenda because it is a special called meeting. I would ask for a motion to adopt the May 3rd, 2023 meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by the raising of your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, I designate Board Member Scott Murphy to cover the meeting ground rules.
We ask everyone to listen as an ally. One person speaks at a time. Respect each other. No sidebars from the board members or audience. Everyone participates. Stay on task. Stop and start on time. Schedule appropriate breaks. Evaluate at the end of each meeting. And cell phones on vibrate or silence, please.
Thank you. At this time, I call upon Board Attorney, Mr. Brian Gatchwood, who will lead us with an invocation for us tonight.
Board members, if you'll please pray with me. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth. We confess that your word is proven, and you are a shield to all those who trust in you. We thank you for the freedoms, the blessings, and the responsibilities you have bestowed on us in this great land. Father, we humbly bow before you, asking you to guide this board as they debate, vote, and interact with one another and their constituents, and that they would do so in a manner pleasing to you. We pray that you would grant them wisdom, a wisdom not derived from fallible man, but rather from you and your infallible word. We pray for the families in our nation and our school system, and the needs of vulnerable children. We believe, Father, that righteousness exalts a nation, and so we pray for justice and truth to prevail, that you may be glorified in this nation and this school system. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. At this time, I would like to ask Board Member Kelly Muse to lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we will be moving forward with our public hearing for the purpose of J.T. Barber Elementary repurposing. We have people signed up to speak, so I call the public hearing for the repurposing consideration of J.T. Barber Elementary to order. As part of our public hearing tonight, we invite Dr. Miller to come and to provide update to the board and to our community. Dr. Miller.
Good evening. In the last few weeks, there's been lots of conversation and data gathering regarding establishing a pre-K early learning center at J.T. Barber Elementary School. Staff members have shared information regarding the repurposing of J.T. Barber Elementary School. We recognize tonight and celebrate that J.T. Barber is a historically significant school rich in its history. The school was built in 1951, and since 1951, J.T. Barber has been repurposed multiple times to meet the ever-changing needs of our communities. With staffing challenges and declining enrollment in our district, we always consider the best use of our facilities. Last week, I shared with the board 3 options for consideration. Option 1 was to keep J.T. Barber as a K-5 school. Option 2, repurpose J.T. Barber as a pre-K center for the 23-24 school year. And option 3, repurpose J.T. Barber as a pre-K center beginning in the 24-25 school year. Since that meeting, we have received lots of feedback, both conversations and in written form. In addition, at the annual budget presentation this past Monday, the commissioners made clear to us all the expectation that we revisit, update, and implement a facility plan that may include closing schools. I believe we all stand firm in one goal here tonight: to provide safe, orderly, and inviting schools for all of our students and staff, while committing to providing educational opportunities for all the children in Craven County schools. Based on all of these data points that we have reviewed and input from stakeholders across our district and leaders in our county, my recommendation tonight is to keep J.T. Barber as a K-5 school with the current pre-K classrooms. J.T. Barber would continue on the restart journey and have an additional year of planning to determine the focus of their restart model and what flexibilities would be needed to support that plan. Along with this recommendation that J.T. Barber remain a K-5 school, I would also recommend that the Board of Education consider updating the long-range facility plan to address the changes in our enrollment patterns, our building capacities, and other factors to ensure we are using our facilities in the most effective and efficient manner to meet the educational needs of all the children served by Craven County Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. As we begin our public hearing tonight, we want to thank all of you for coming out to speak to the Board of Education in this special called meeting for the public hearing on J.T. Barber. The Board of Education is here to listen to those who have signed up, and our speakers will be called upon one at a time and will have up to 5 minutes for speaking. If you are still speaking when the alarm goes off, that means your time is up. Please go and take your seat. There is to be no comments or sidebars from the audience, as this inhibits our ability to listen to the speaker at the podium. To our speakers, we all know emotions can run high at times, and especially when we speak about things that we are passionate about. Our decorum for our public meeting is to be polite and respectful. I ask that your comments to the board be focused, polite, and to not include any personal attacks. You can only comment tonight on the concerns of the J.T. Barber proposal. Thank you for your cooperation, and at this time, I ask Vice Chairman Mr. Scott Murphy if he will begin calling our citizens who have signed up and desire to speak tonight.
Mr. Chairman, we have 33 for tonight, and I would like to start with Jaquata, a parent and alumni.
Hi, my name is Jaquata Wilson. I'm a parent of 2 Crocs, And not even just that, I used to walk these halls my kindergarten year in 1995. I would like to say that I feel like J.T. Barber should stay as it is. I come every day and pick my kids up from carpool, and I pick mine up by the office. I see how the children that are around the surrounding area, they walk home. So if you guys change it to a pre-K, and these children have to go to Trent Park or across the bridge that was at James W. Smith, how is that going to help them out? If they have to change from walking to be bus riders, then you're overcrowding buses, you're overcrowding schools, and some of these wonderful teachers that are here today end up losing their jobs because they made this into a pre-K. So I say that we keep it how it is. Thank you.
Jamila Smith, parent PTO.
Hello, I am a parent. I am a grandma. I'm grandma to all the kids in this school. I'm raising 3 of my grandchildren, and they do come here. This change has got them very upset. This school, I didn't think I was going to get emotional. The teachers, the principal, the parents, they're there. We busing these children. A lot of parents can't get their kids when they're sick. A lot of their parents help them because they have to work and they live right in the neighborhood where, like she said, they can walk to grandma's house. If they're shipped over to Briston, I'm not familiar with these, it's just not going to be good. The kids are doing wonderful. Mr. Willis has done miracles in this past year that he's been here. And to take that away from him, these teachers losing their job, these children, it wouldn't be a good thing. J.T. Barber needs to stay the way it is. Thank you.
Bernard White.
My name is Bernard White. I'm here because of the circumstances that is cast upon J.T. Barber. This is not the first time it's happened. When they were made to go to New Bern High, a lot of us didn't want to do that. It was a great school. It ranks among the top schools. Always done that. With this elementary, they received all kinds of rewards. None of the other schools have got all those rewards. Why is, when J.T. Barber is doing good, if they're doing bad, a lot going to be said about it. But when they're doing good, nobody pick them up, lift them up. I disagree with any changes. I think it needs to remain as it is. I know that some certain people are there supposed to be listening to us, but I also know they're not listening. I'm a little too bold for some people, but I'm going to tell it like it is. Each time it was slated to close J.T. Barber down once, and we did what we had to do. We even came before the board and managed to get it. I call it extended because you never quit. Then when one wasn't fixing the building up, they wanted to take all the tires, the old tires, and put them in the backyard back there. And I didn't think the neighbors over there would like all those tires there. So we won that. Then for a while, you sit around, didn't do nothing to the curtains or to the windows, didn't fix the place up. So my classmates, we had our class reunion. I'm a graduate of J.T. Barber, proud. proud. And for her, we'll sing, for her, we'll stand, for her, we'll fight together. That was our motto, and we've done that. We have students in this school, in our school, to rank among the top people in the United States. Most people left here, they didn't come back. Okay, they do well, but they didn't come back here. I'm just here on behalf of, this is the third time that I've came before the committee. It's the third time second time I ever spoke here as a freshman. That was a freshman side, that's what the freshmen said. We had so many students that all of them couldn't come in. But as Mr. Fields said, before we graduate, we're going to lose a great deal of them, and we did. So I'm opposed to whatever changes that's going to hurt J.T. Barber. I don't think y'all doing justice to us, and I know I don't feel it. And I know some people doesn't care, and I'll tell you to your face that I know you doesn't care.
Okay. All right. Can we have our sound tech people to adjust the podium microphone just so we can hear?
Thea White, I think I got that name right. Droothia. There you go. Community.
I will begin with the core values of the Craven County School Mission: visionary leadership, student-centered excellence, organizational learning and agility, valuing people, focus on success, managing for innovation, management by fact, societal responsibility, delivering value and results, ethics and transparency. I stand and I agree with what was proposed. We do need to continue this great school with its illustrious history as a K-5 school. We had to accept that because we were stepped down from not only a high school, but a middle school. So we really don't need another step down. This community is in need of educational values. We believe that J.T. Barber Elementary School has done that. We need more upkeep of the building. We need a lot. But let me remind you, we are just overcoming COVID-19. Our children have suffered enough upheaval. Our children have suffered enough when it comes to changes. It affects their emotional and educational strength. They don't need any more upheaval. And so on that note, I stand that it should remain as is as a K-5 elementary school. Thank you.
Alberta Harvey, teacher.
Good evening.
Quiet.
I am a product of Duffyfield, Larksville, Washington Park, and one of the baddest cities ever known. And I look at it every night, Dodge City. That's where I was raised. We didn't have much, but our parents put those values there. You will do better than what we did. And we did. J.T. Barber was a place that we knew that we could have an all-out gala. We had plays where all of our black schools came together. We had productions. I haven't seen that in years. They do all county. the band concerts. But what about our little lonely children? That if mom and dad misses 2 hours of work, that may mean 3 days of dinner. At one time when mom wasn't working, she got those food stamps. But as soon as she became a viable citizen in her community, everything was cut. So instead of giving us a thumb up, you keep pushing us down. If you don't have a community in your heart, then you need to get off the board, go find you another job, find you something else to do. Our children, we have a breed of children, and I'm gonna call them a breed, because we all get along together. There's not one teacher in J.T. Barber, staff member, that cannot look at any child and see that that child woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Somebody's going to pull that child. It may not even be my child. You can look at them and tell they didn't have supper last night. I always buy snacks, and everybody is, why you keep buying stuff? I'm a retired teacher of Craven County. I have a total of over 42 years. Every time I say I'm going home, I come back. January, I had to have lung surgery. My kids in my 5th grade classroom were devastated. The letters those kids wrote me, I didn't think they could write. You take care of you now, because you've been taking care of us. But when you get better, remember we're here, because we love you. We want you. You make me feel like I am somebody. This is what I believe in J.T. Barber. Pre-K is fine, keep them where they are. But some of those people that you allowed to sign their children to go to Bangor, to go to Ben D. Quinn, bring them on back over here. When you redistricted, you did a disservice to...
Hey, ma'am, I'm going to ask the audience to keep your applause. We are trying to listen to the speaker. You may continue.
But when you redistricted right then, you genocided our community. We had Burmese, we had Colombians, we had people that couldn't even speak, couldn't even say good morning. And this is what our kids had to endure. My God, when is enough? When is it ever going to be enough? When are we going to ever rise to the top? We have some of the best professionals in this country, in the world, that started right here in J.T. Barber. What else are you going to take from us? They've taken Stanley White. They've taken Capers Park. What else are you going to take? I guess the next thing you're going to start taking our neighborhood churches. Well, I don't think God will let that happen. But as far as my staff, I'm not even a principal. I'm just a nobody, trying to tell everybody about a school that needs to stay where it is. And to God be the glory.
Jamisha, stakeholder. I think it's Jamisha or James something. You want to help me out, though.
Good evening, board, stakeholders. So the first thing I wanted to say is I agree with her. I think the first mistake is that and I know it might not have been your board, but the redistricting, right? We have a segregated school, right? So even though you didn't physically do it, you're still responsible for what's going on. J.T. Barber was slated to be a restart school along with Oaks Road, Roger Bell, And it seems like Oaks Road and Roger Bell were able to push forward, but J.T. Barber didn't, right? And I know that the presentation was just said that it's recommended that we keep this a K through 5. I personally agree with that. I feel like the board has not given the resources that are necessary to pull this school forward. In regards to staffing, we know that it's not 100% staffed. This was supposed to be the planning year for the restart. So if you're going to do this, I'm sure staff would want to know and make sure that this is not just, okay, we're gonna leave the school as it is this year while you're in the background planning something else to do, because that's not how we operate in our communities. You know that you have a job and you can go to your job. To be able to go home and not know whether you have a job or not, that's a problem, right? You don't want that problem, they don't want that problem. So with that being said, when you deliberate tonight, if you truly support what the community's saying and it's going to be given the ability to be a restart school, that's 4 years. So you're going to give them a new year to plan, and then you're going to give them 3 years to have an opportunity to show you why you should have never been on the board trying to tell them to shut this school down. Then there's other things that we have a question about. One thing I would like to make a comment, because this is live, it's heartbreaking to know that a school, Brinson, the community in that area, and supposedly some teachers have signed a petition to say that they don't want those bad kids at their school. That's sad. That's sad to know that there's a whole community that feels like that. I'm pretty sure if you look at the statistics in all the schools in Craven County, there's probably about 2 to 3% that all may have some behavioral issues, but we work through them. You probably had some behavioral issues growing up. It ain't no different. But the problem is at this school is that they need the resources. Not a little bit. Not, oh, we're going to give you a grant to get your room together. No, every room should be filled with all of the resources that they need to be successful. Because if it's not a successful school, it's your fault and not theirs. These kids did not ask to be here. They didn't ask to be segregated in this community. To me, it feels like it was left behind because of the demographic of the people that are represented in this community. I will say, when I was at the school board, I do love the idea of having partially or the opportunity for there to be resources, because we know that there are some people that are in this community that may be adults that need some extra help with their skills. That is what that resource hub would have provided. We talked about needing dental care and those different services, and they were going to be free. That community still needs those free services. So I feel, based on the plan, there should be some more discussion on how you can still bring some of those great ideas from that resource hub into this school and still keep it a K through 5. But the main point is, please listen to the community. Please don't have this meeting and have us here and this be an emotional setting for you to deliberate and say you're going to push through with what you're doing. Because to me, wherever the board was before, they didn't plan for the future. They planned for right now, and that's not how you're supposed to govern the board. You have to have a strategic plan. You all work or retired, and you know when you work somewhere, there's a strategic plan. So let's plan for 5 years. F.R. Daniels was shut down. Was it neglected? We could probably say that it was neglected. That's a whole plot of land that the school owns. So why are we not making plans to tear down that building if there's issues with it and build up another school, because we know the population is going, and then let's redistrict so it's equitable through all these schools in Craven County and make sure that there's equitable allocation of funds. She made a great point about the outside activities. Now, don't get at me about sports. I'm all about sports, but that's not the only thing. There's some children that don't care about football or basketball. There's children that care about theater, right? And that there needs to be funding for the arts. My son is at the high school right now doing theater, and there's no money in the budget for microphones. There's no money in the budget. Bye. Thank you.
Michael Schachter, Community.
Let me take off my
I just had cataract surgery on Monday, so I'm not sure. I'm going to speak on RAP. By this I mean respect for the past, action in the present, and planning for the future. My first wife, Joyce Lee Brown Tedderton, graduated from J.T. Barber High School. Her picture is up on the wall at the entrance. All right. This building is a monument to the history of segregation and white supremacy in North Carolina. But more, it is a monument to the principals, teachers, coaches, and staff that the black school system, that they encourage by example their students to high achievement and the importance of community. Our actions now need to continue that community for the students of J.T. Barber Elementary School, to make sure that they get the best education now and in the future. The school probably needs to be renovated and improved, and I think it should be done. Future plans must be based on the community needs and history. They cannot be based solely on fiscal needs. That would be detrimental and just wrong. The students and the community must come first. Thank you.
Shannon Gizma, parent. Danielle Kowalski. Parent.
Hi, I'm speaking of a parent at one of the schools in which the students from J.T. Barber would likely be transferred if the school was closed. Personally, I would like to say I would be supportive in welcoming the students. I know that our school has the capacity to hold the students. When my first child started at school, they were pretty much, I think, at capacity. My numbers may be wrong, but they held about 700 students, and the numbers are down to the 400s. Again, I could be slightly incorrect in those numbers, but I do know that we lost many students during Florence and the pandemic. From what I've seen, those numbers have not fully recovered. With that being said, I do know that our principal has used the resources available to him and been creative in keeping class numbers down with the staff that we have been given, and that has changed through the years. I do understand about the sense of community and pride in one school. My children, their family has gone to Brinson for at least 5 generations before the first brick was even laid for the building that it is now. One of their grandparents had to travel to buggy in the school when it was right by the water. So I don't have a strong opinion either way, but again, I do understand about community, and if the community is asking for the school to be kept open, then perhaps listen to them and give them another chance. And that's being said as someone that would welcome them. If they want it to stay open, give them the resources that we need, because while all schools are hurting, there's some that are hurting more. We have a great, group of parents at our school, and I know that, other students in other schools struggle, and everyone struggles, but give them the resources that they need and they're asking for. Don't push them back down. Because when you take away someone's community, you take away their pride. And without pride, that can affect your ability to receive an education when you feel that you're not being valued in your own community. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Marshall Williams.
Good evening, Board, and thank you for having this, sorry for being a little tall. Thank you for having this forum for the community. I'm speaking on behalf of the Reverend Martin Luther King Outreach Ministry of New Bern. And I'd like to say, if Dr. King was alive today, he would want me to say something. And what he would want me to say is, keep J.T. Barber open. Keep it open as just like it is. If anything, add pre-K to it. The community needs a school. The youth need to have pride in their school, right in their community, not across the Neuse or the Trent River. Keep J.T. Barber whole, well, and alive. Thank you.
I can't read the first name, but I'm thinking the last name is Slade. Is there a Slade? Thank you, sir.
There's another Slade, but he deferred to me. I'm a Slade too, so. Good evening, Board. My name is Reverend Gary Slade. I'm the pastor of St. Peter's AME Zion Church here in New Bern, the oldest African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church in Zion here in the South. I like what the superintendent said at first about J.T. Barber being, let me take these glasses, being a restart model, I believe is what you called it, to restart things. Being a former military leader and a former executive in the corporate world, there's a thing that I know they use called the battle assessment. A year or so ago, I met Principal Willis at a meeting, a church meeting, and we connected. The pandemic came along, and he had some ideas about J.T. Barber after the battle assessment. One is that it's not so much that the kids lack potential. It's not so much that that they missing some things at home or in their neighborhoods. It was that nobody, let me take that back, not nobody. It was that they weren't given the opportunity or a chance to be talked to be mentored, to be taught some things. So we took the task on, me and a few other men of the community, to do just that. We, Principal Willis, selected 7 young men. 7 young men. This isn't a biblical story. 7 young men. And the 7 young men, we have been mentoring them for the last few months. And we have given them the tools not only to respect themselves and to learn how to manage themselves, but they've named themselves the Motivational Boys Club. Are there any of them motivational boys in here? Yeah. Come here. Come over here. These are 2 of the 7 young men. Every week we talk to them and we hold them accountable with a few things. Now let me tell you, these little fellas here are a handful. They are a handful. They came to us and they were complaining about they weren't doing good in school, that they weren't failing grades. But every week we sit with them, we ask them 3 basic questions. What didn't go so well this week? What went well this week? What you going to do better next week? What was amazing to me is their transparent stories that they shared about their own personal lives and their home lives, which I'm not going to repeat here because they'd be mad at me. But they but they are coming along now to where they're doing better in class. They're doing better in school. They address themselves as, I'm Mr. Troy. I'm Mr. Wiggins. They run the meetings themselves. And it's all because of relationships that they have, not with me and the four men, but they are holding each other accountable as well. And that becomes, I would like to see these 70 men become 7 times 7, 7 times 70. Young men who can go out to the community and do that. J.T. Barber's not a bad school. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, in a similar situation, a similar school. I didn't turn out so bad. So I'm sure if given the opportunity, given a chance, giving Mr. Willis and his staff a chance to do what this school can prosper and do better. But it's going to take a concerted effort on everybody's part to do so, because these guys deserve a chance, don't you? All right, say it loud again. Say it loud. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Get out of here. Amen. So let me just say in closing that the restart model for J.T. Barber, the restart model has already started. It's just getting everybody galvanized and motivated to take it where it can go. And the integration of a pre-K, I think it's a great idea. I don't think we need the whole school for it. I think there's an opportunity for the two to coexist, so the school can stay right where it is. And so I can keep coming over here and getting gray hair every Friday dealing with these young men. So that's all I really wanted to say, because I see my time is up, and if this was a sermon, I would go over right now. Amen. But God bless you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee. Say it a little louder. Barbara Lee.
This is my alma mater. I graduated from J.T. Barber School. We went to school here. It's right here in my neighborhood. And when I hear that somebody's getting ready to do something to my school, then you get my attention. So you got me. Everybody, everything they said, about keeping the school, I appreciate your suggestion to keep it like it is. I want you to do something good to it, though. Fix it up. Make it look good. Give me some good teachers in here that can make a difference with the children who go to school here. But other than that, I think this is great. Thank you for this opportunity to come before you guys and let you know how we think, okay? Did you get it? All right.
Shannon Gizmer? Okay. I'm turning it on.
I don't think I can compete with some of these speeches I heard today, but I do have a few points that I wanted to bring out with not just the children from Brinson, but the children for JT, and basically every child in America. When we had the COVID pandemic, these kids have been back in school for 2 years. Last year with my daughter, she started school, COVID hit, she was in kindergarten. And then first grade, we were doing Zooms, kindergarten Zooms. So last year, when she was in second grade, we struggled. My child was making Ds. My third child, I have a 28-year-old, 23-year-old, I've never had a child making Ds. She was struggling. We still have struggles, and I know almost every parent in here probably have children that struggle right now because of that lack of socializing and the education that they get in a classroom versus being on a Zoom at home with an older sibling helping them because the parents were at work. And parents said it cannot afford the tutoring. And then you're talking about trying to combine and doubling class sizes. Where are the resources going to be for these teachers to help catch these kids back up that are still not caught up in 2 years? There's no way. There's kids in my daughter's class right now still making C's and D's. They can't read properly. What are we going to do about that gap that we already have without joining classes and making them bigger? That's what I want to know. Thank you for letting me come back up.
Monica Simmons.
Good afternoon. They tell me I have 5 minutes and I have 5 bullet points. And I think the first 2 bullet points will solve our problems tonight. Keep J.T. Barber K through 5. And for the preschool, put 1 preschool at every school in Craven County. If you decide to move any of the classes to another school out of district, it's very difficult for parents to get off work, child gets sick, miss the bus. The Uber runs about $20 one way. Cab costs $15 to $18 one way, past the James City Bridge. My 4th point, a child will be able to learn at any school that they attend. It starts at home, then the school. Teachers have a passion to teach. Number 5, children are affected by all children should be put first. Child first, do the right thing. They are our future and the future of each and every one of you. Thank you.
Pete Monty.
Good afternoon. My name is Pete Monty. I am a volunteer at J.T. Barber. I'm part of the Garber Methodist Church Volunteers. My wife and I greet your children at the carpool drop-off. I've been doing it 2016-2017 school year. And we took a little time off for COVID. James Baldwin, the writer, used to say, being poor is expensive. And Dr. Miller, I applaud your decision, and I hope the board will support your decision in keeping this a K-5 school. I've noticed the children are just like children everywhere. You've got good ones, you've got great ones, and you've got a couple that want to give you problems. I want to give you a good point about J.T. Barber. A student here is the spelling bee champion of elementary schools, is getting ready to compete in the district level at Little Washington. That's a good thing. It was mentioned that I think Dr. Martin Luther King would be smiling. I'll tell you who'd be smiling. His portrait hangs in the hallway. And that's J.T. Barber. Let me give you a little history. He was born in 1872. That's only 7 years after the hostilities of the Civil War. He passed away in 1945. I think we all should do what J.T. Barber would want us to do, and that is to keep this school as it is in this neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Reverend Slade, are you going to pass your time over to the other Mr. Slade? Are you good?
Much has been said. I will be redundant to start a conversation about it. My personal feelings, there's a desire to diminish J.T. Bauer. Why would you keep hammering at J.T. Bauer? I'm a graduate from J.T. Bauer. Proud graduate, will never forget J.T. Bauer, the accomplishments of J.T. Bauer. But to want to diminish it when there's other schools, other places. What is it that you have against J.T. Bauer that you will undertake such actions?
Mr. Dan Murphy. Mr. Dan Murphy. He's a volunteer from Garber Church.
Thank you, Board, for this meeting. Thank you, Dr. Miller, for the recommendation to the Board. As you could tell from the audience, there was a lot of happiness with that recommendation. I'm Dan Murphy. I'm a father of 3. Commissioner for the town of Trent Woods, business owner, and a member of Garber Church. For 3 years, I volunteered here at J.T. Barber. From 2017 up until COVID destroyed that opportunity. I started with 2nd grade. My plan was to be here for an hour each Monday with the kids. And I realized that first day that I had to do 2 hours. So I did. I absolutely loved the time here with these kids. They are a special group of kids, but so are the teachers. The decision that this board made 10 years ago could not have been more catastrophic to this school, though. And some of you are responsible for that decision. Unfortunately, now all of you are responsible for fixing it. The issues that this school deals with are different than any other school. I love community schools. I love that each school is able to be in a community. As you could tell, the residents here want this to remain. I get that. There's a whole lot of reasons for it. But particularly for this community and for what a lot of these families deal with, there's just not another opportunity, another option that is workable for them to do it otherwise. But this board has failed the school when they made it what it is. There's been no support. And so I really encourage you to think outside the box. Do not treat this like you do Bangor or Brinson or Creekside or whatever it might be. This is different. I mean, engage with Teach for America or do different things because the teachers need help. There were 100 volunteers at Garber here at one time. And there's still a lot that are able to come in, greeting the kids on the bus. I would go to the planetarium with UNC on a field trip with the kids. We went to Tryon Palace with the kids. We did it all that we could. Our goal as a church was to love these children and support these teachers. And we felt that this board didn't do any of that. I encourage you to not just come here and visit 15 minutes to read a book in the library, but to do what we did and honestly spend time in these classrooms with these teachers and see day in, day out what they deal with. See what these kids are. They're awesome kids, but they need more attention than some other schools do. And I encourage you to take the time and do that, make some really good decisions, but pay attention to this school. Thank you.
Melvin Cooper. Again, Melvin Cooper.
I'm the queen.
You are.
Good evening, board members. I'm not going to take much of your time because I think it's already been said by all the other ones who have come up. I mean, there's no one in here who wants this change to take place. So I think this board has the opportunity to listen to the people and keep J.T. Barber as it is. I attended J.T. Barber, but I didn't graduate from J.T. Barber because integration came into play in 1970. 1970 class was the last graduating class of J.T. Barber, the very last. There was a lot of us, 71 on, who we wish we could have been the last. But unfortunately, 1970 class was the last. If you truly also want to keep J.T. Barber as it is, we should also honor, one of the first things that they did when they changed the school was they removed all of the pictures. Why can't we not have the pictures back up on the walls? This will show, one, the students what can be achieved, and show that those who are in here, show them that there are people who look like them, who have achieved great things, and that gives them the opportunity to be able to do the same thing. I also was a staff member here at J.T. Barber, hired by Mr. and the great Gerald Johnson, who I'm sure is turning over if things happen to his great school. When I was here, there was teachers lining up. He had a waiting list of teachers who wanted to teach here. I got transferred to Trent Park after leaving for a short period, and I returned to the system. And I ended up at Trent Park. And when the testing results came out close to the end of the year, there was all this buzz around how J.T. Barber, which I was not surprised, had the highest scores in all of Craven County. And it got to me then that there are some people in Craven County who is not appreciative of what J.T. Barber can do and what J.T. Barber has done. And I heard an administrative person says, how can those poor kids, quote, code for black, outdoing us here at Trent Park? She couldn't understand that. What she could understand was that J.T. Barber has great teachers. Always have, and I'm sure always will have, teachers who have more than just teaching, but they have the heart and soul of the kids here as well. And they don't want nothing more, nothing less for their students but high achievement. And like I said, it's already been said throughout here, and I'm sure you're not going to get anyone to dispute the mere fact that J.T. Barber needs to remain as it is. I don't know much about this restart. I'm no longer in Craven County, but J.T. Barber is a heart of mine. And I would hate to see J.T. Barber throw down to pre-K. I got 1 minute left, so let me just say this. J.T. Barber is also the only black remaining school in Craven County. We do not need to lose that. We do not need to lose that. I was having an interview, because I on the paper with my good friend Roger, and we were interviewing at the time Mayor Dana Outlaw, who was just elected mayor, and he stated to us that he was going to make Dufferfield soccer mom friendly. Thank you.
Jeremy Pinon.
How y'all doing tonight? Good, all right. So, a lot of us are products of this very community. Unfortunately, it's often looked down upon. However, people look at us in this community, and we still produce successful people that's here in this very room right now. This isn't a black and brown versus Caucasian issue, it's a human race issue. The stakeholders of JTB are asking for our students and staff to be afforded the same opportunity and educational resources that other students have, and the opportunity to receive within the same school district. JTB isn't the only school that is suffering with a lack of high qualified teachers. If there was a concern of the lack of highly qualified staff, then why were the arrangements made to support the students and staff by taking highly qualified professionals out of their offices and placed into our buildings? These babies don't just need resources, they need love and understanding. We can't assure that if they go elsewhere. I graduated from pre-K right there in that very hallway. I was literally walking down this hallway to graduate. And Ms. Inger Sawyer raised me. She was one of the teachers here, and it was just awesome. Some of us are products of the great principal, Gerald Johnson. His famous words to me, and I was just 6, and I still remember it to this very day: if you show greatness, you can become greatness. And I was 6 when those words were said to me. Today, we as a community are here, and we're saying we need our school to stay K through 5. Thank you.
Roger Bellamy. Roger Bellamy.
How y'all doing? My name is Roger Bellamy. I'm an Israelite. The only reason I'm here tonight is I want to sit in for my moms. My mom started this school back in the 60s. I don't know if some of you know Miss Edith Van Falconer. And I had to come tonight. But I didn't come to, I just come to ask some questions, because I'm in the dark, so I can't come and give my point of view one way or the other. But the questions that I need to ask is why that we want to move or change the school system the way it is, or why we want to turn it into a pre-K, which I do understand that. That's a good point for me on my point. That is good. That's a good point for some, not in the whole way. But to actually have a community, you have to have certain things to give you that anchor foundation. J.T. Barber is the only thing that this community has. It's not a community no more. It's a neighborhood. Because to have a community, you have to have a couple of things. You have to have a financial base. You have to have some other institutions to anchor it down. Our financial base is not there no more. Our churches are there, but the biggest thing that this community centered around Duffield was this place right here. That's why I built it. The majority of the families that was in this area were professionals. In this area right here, in this area. So the question is why? No one is saying why you want it done, why it have to be done, you know? And before you make that move to move, should ask what can be done to keep it. You don't have to, because our community is gone now. It's not a community, we got a neighborhood. And if you move this out of the area, it's not going to be Duffield no more. It's not. Because we've been gentrified. And why is the reason we've been gentrified? Because we can't take care of it. And what's that reason? That we can't take care of our own community? It's some other things. That's the question you need to answer. And ask why. Why we cannot keep up our communities. Why? What's the reason? What is the reason why? And it all boils back down to the economics. We've been frozen out of economics, 100%.
And to have a successful community, you got to have an economic base. If we had the economic base, you wouldn't be here talking about moving the school. That's why you're not talking about nobody else's school. This is the only community that you can come and beat up on because we don't have the economic base. Only one. Now, if I'm wrong, someone raise their hand and tell me right now that I'm wrong. You know I'm not right, but I'm through. That's all I got to say. Have a good day.
We are 1 hour in strong. We're going to take a 10-minute break. ready to begin. We are ready to start back. I call this meeting back to order. I call this meeting back to order. As we continue with our meeting tonight, we ask you to be mindful and respectful of our ground rules as each person that is speaking at this podium. Mr. Vice Chairman, would you call the next person? We have started our meeting back. Our meeting has been called to order.
Mr. Bernard George. Mr. Bernard George. Volunteer.
He's coming.
Good evening, Board. I am a school volunteer and a mentor at J.T. Barber. I've been volunteering in the Craven County school system for over 25 years, and I am a product of J.T. Barber High School. I have some concerns, a couple of questions. Why are our African-American children always the object of busing? When busing is a tactic that you're using? Why is it? I was reading several articles today concerning busing across the nation, and it always concerns busing minorities. Something to think about. Another question. There is a steady erosion of our community schools, heritage, and history. Where will it stop? As someone mentioned earlier, this is the last traditional African-American school, historic African-American school in the county. Where will it stop? The school needs educational resources, not repurposing. It's been said several times tonight how funds have not been provided to J.T. Barber School. Board, we need resources here, and I hope these folk here will support this board in making the resources available. If J.T. Barber School students are doing poorly, it's because of the resources. We've been tops, as I said earlier, many times. I graduated from this school and went on to college, graduate school, etc. I had a totally all-black education system behind me. And I've done, I think, reasonably well. The school, and what is the budget for J.T. Barber? That's where the rubber hits the road. You talk about the school, what resources are you providing here? When you lift this community up, you lift the whole city up. You have neglected these students who need your support most. Where are the resources? I want you school board members to look at your budgets and determine what kind of resources have you provided to this school over the past 5 years. And as we talk about this 5 years, in the last 5 years, we here in this community have suffered through 2 devastating major hurricanes, Matthew and Florence. And that's been followed by 2 years of COVID. Our children have suffered. Our children need inspiration and stabilization at J.T. Barber, not busing out of the neighborhood. My question, last of all, is how will our K through 5 students benefit from the closing of J.T. Barber and busing out of here? Is it more important for them versus the pre-K? I would say not. K through 5, these young people are forming their character. They needed support in their own communities instead of, as it's been said before, where people don't want them. Let's give them a chance. Give this school some resources, and we will return to our former glory. Thank you.
Dre Nix.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dre Nix, and I'm here representing Boys and Girls Club, the Coastal Plain, of which J.T. Barber Elementary School Unit is the official chartered Boys and Girls Club here in Craven County, serving New Bern. I support J.T. Barber staying as it is, K through 5. The reason for that is that you, as a school district, invited us into this community. Boys and Girls Club don't just go into a community. We're asked and we're invited. And I said this the last time I stood up here in front of you. You were our first conversation. You said to us, when we asked, where can we go? You said you are needed at J.T. Barber. It was a great choice. It was a great choice. And I have been here. I stepped foot in this school in October of 2015. And I have seen the deterioration of the support and resources coming to this school. And I just want to applaud every teacher that's still here, because they lost a lot. I have seen 3 principals since 2015. This is the 3rd principal here. The movement of just a lot. Everyone has stated how much these kids have gone through. But what I've noticed, I'm not a New Bernian, I'm not even from North Carolina, but the one thing I know that I've observed and what I work every day with these young people that I work with here is that they need to be connected to their community. They need to know that when they show up every day, they need consistency. In Boys and Girls Club, we pride ourselves on the relationship that we build with the children. And as a school board, when you make decisions like this, you need to take all those things into consideration. We are a partner. Boys and Girls Club of America is a national program with 5,000 clubs in this country. School districts is our primary partnerships. And here I am standing here, listening to a school district who consistently make decisions that is disrupting the lives of the students that you, in your school vision statement, you clearly state that you're going to work with the community to make sure that our kids have successful lives. How is decisions like this making that happen? I'm not going to repeat everything that everyone else says, but I implore you to think about this as a partner that is committed to J.T. Barber and basically all the students in Craven County, but especially J.T. Barber. I have helped these teachers on numerous things, but the most important thing is that they know that if those kids are at Boys and Girls Club, they have our support, whether it's juice boxes, chips, support them in events, activities, or so, we're there for them. They need consistency. 2 hurricanes, COVID, the whole 9, and now you're saying to them, we're going to take you away from your community. This is a historical school. They need to be here. They need to learn of the importance of this building and being part of it and contributing to their community. And we as Boys and Girls Club of Coastal Plain, me, Dre Nix, the Senior VP of Operations and Programs for Coastal Plain, is committed to do that here at J.T. Barber. And I want to say thank you to all the teachers. Mr. Willis, who's now here, I want to say thank you for what you continue to do every day. They're losing resources, they're losing teachers, and this is not okay. We have got to do better by our kids. You have got to do better. You made an oath to serve these children and each community. You said it yourself. So listen to what's being said to you tonight, because this school, it is needed in this community. And you have my commitment and the resources that I can bring to make sure, because the partnership that you sign on the dotted line with us, you never even said to us that you were considering this. So is that how we treat our partners in Craven County, or at least here in New Bern? I'm going to leave you with that.
Lori Grady, community member.
As always, I thank this board for allowing the public to come and talk to you. My name's Lori Grady. I live at 1501 Kimberly Road. And I say that tonight for one reason, because 1501 Kimberly Road happens to be equidistant from J.T. Barber, Trent Park, and Oaks Road Elementary School. So my home is districted to Trent Park, but could as easily be J.T. Barber or Oaks Road. And I live in this community here, and so I do want to go on the record. I don't need to say this to the board, but I feel like a lot of the public here tonight doesn't know that we're having these discussions because this topic came up. I might be wrong. I have not asked all the board members. I don't even know if I've asked any of them, but it seemed like a surprise topic in the superintendent's report at the work session a couple weeks ago. And so I really appreciate the board really listening. I hear all the emotion coming from the public, and I understand that. But I hope the public will understand that this was not something that came from the board. And I attend the board meetings regularly, and I stay in touch with the work sessions. It seemed like it was kind of a surprise topic. It was not even an agenda item at the time. So thank you for doing that and for listening. And I know you all will make whatever decision that you decide to make. What I wanted to do tonight was to just ask you to please dig into the documents and the history beyond the history of the building, but dig into the documents that the prior board mostly presented since 2019 in their facilities master plan. It's not fun. It's like a 460-page document, but if you open it up on your computer, you can search for things like J.T. Barber and go straight to that stuff. There are other documents. There apparently are some meeting minutes from like March and April of '21, and maybe that same time frame in 2020, where different options for the schools were, they dove into those a little more. I'm just going to say, like I often do say, those things are not intuitively navigable on the website, and so they are there, but they're not easy to find, and I think that's a real disservice to the public. So I would just ask you to do your due diligence, and I know all of you will, in making a decision, and that you don't stop there, that if J.T. Barber remains a K-5 school, I secretly hope that it does, because it's a neighborhood school for me, that you just won't stop there, that you also will not tackle the J.T. Barber concerns by just throwing more resources at it. I'm sure all of you know this, but J.T. Barber actually has the highest cost per student than any other elementary school in our district. And that's probably for some different reasons. We've tried to recruit resources here, teachers, and so that does come at a little bit more of a cost. So I'm not saying that additional money can't fix it, but I'm saying before we do, let's make sure we are not just giving money to the school, that we're giving support for those resources, and that we are not getting wrapped up in all the platitudes of, a literacy program and all these things that we aren't later asking for outcomes from. Our kids want to be successful. We want them to be successful. And we as community stakeholders, even though I know all of y'all don't live right here in this neighborhood, we all are stakeholders in the kids that come out of this school and every one of our other 24 schools. So, again, thank you, and if I could make I'm really thankful that Garber pours out their resources here. I'm equally thankful for Centenary, who does the same at Oaks Road, and that's what we need. We need more of us here, not necessarily more money.
Pam Woods, NAACP.
Good evening. I'm Pam Woods, President of Craven County Branch NAACP. I'm not going to repeat all the things that everybody has said because points have been made, numerous points have been made, so I'm going to try to make a couple points that have not been made. I applaud Dr. Miller for her recommendation. I think that each community has a uniqueness of its own. The children in that community have to trust their community. You have a school in the community, the onus is on the school and the board to ensure that that community trusts what they're getting at that school. Each teacher that comes here to J.T. Barber, and I'm not from New Bern, I did not go to J.T. Barber, but I've been in this community almost 30 years. Each teacher that comes here probably comes here and says, I'm going to work every day and I'm going home. But after a short period of time, the uniqueness of working in a community school is you learn the students, the families, the community. And you begin to pour more of yourself into that community, the students, the people, than you thought you would. So beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know that these teachers, the staff that's sitting here, whether they started out to or not, have been putting in the time, the work, and their hearts. Okay? I applaud that. And sometimes it ain't easy. I subbed for a number of years. Sometimes it ain't easy. But that's what we say we're going to do. Now, I took the time today to look up the Restart program in North Carolina, and it's good reading. I challenge parents to do that. It's very good reading, and it gives you a better understanding of what Dr. Miller was talking about, to continue the Restart journey. You can't take a process that should take 4 to 5 years, begin the process, write it out on paper, and then abandon the process. It's not fair to the students, the teachers, the community, and it's not fair to the board. Because you, as the board, said you are going to work with that program. And then you turn around in the next breath and say, you know what, we're not going to let this program work its way through. We're going to go another route. I heard about the pre-K kindergarten experiment 2.5 years ago. And I just said to myself, nobody's going to do that. That's not going to happen. And then it went by the wayside. But then all of a sudden, that same grumbling came back. But it came back after you said that you were going to try to bring the scores and the test numbers and all these things up in J.T. Barber. Everybody's already talked about the negative things that have happened, hurricanes and COVID and staffing changes. Staffing changes are going to happen. However, once you put a person into that position, you have to give them the opportunity to make it or break it. And you have not done that fully. All I'm asking is that you take all the information that you get here and take it to the county commissioners and remind them that you need the resources. Because evidently it's not in your budget. But you got to remind them that the community, the staff, the students, and the rest of the city, because I'm not from this community, There's a lot of us in here tonight that's raising sand that are not from this community. So actually, the city, the citizens of New Bern would like this to stay a K through 5. Give it an opportunity to work. They didn't get the resources that Oaks Road and Roger Bell got. I looked up the numbers. They didn't get all the funding. So give them that opportunity and that funding. Thank you for your time.
Reverend Ethel Sampson.
Praise the Lord, everybody. Amen. Giving unto God, who's the author and finisher of my faith, to the board members and the stakeholders, to everybody here, I want to say it's an honor to be one of the voices crying in the wilderness. I've been crying in the wilderness 69 years. I was 90 years old last Monday. And Dr. Miller, I applaud what you said. Everything that has been said and done is fine. I agree with him. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I see that everybody up here is lily white tonight. And white is supposed to be purity. And I know one thing, I realize that I have friends on the board. And I know one thing, that we must realize, I remember the time when Duffield was one of the most flourishing places in New Bern. We had colleges. We had a college on Gray Street. We had cafes. We had real estate offices. We had lawyers up here. Oh, you name it, we had it. And and everybody's working together. Because according to the word, one blood, out of one blood comes all. We didn't have any reason to say what we came from, what color we are. And part of the things, we are all God's children. And I realize tonight that it's our life is in your hands. And I do believe with all of my heart that God will change your mind if it's the other way. And He's going to fix it. And so let Jesus fix it for you. When He fix it, everything is going to be all right. And on the we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And we said to the republic which it stand, one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. Justice. Think about justice. And when you go to bed at night, I want you to go to bed with a good heart. Know that you did the right thing. God bless you.
Kristen Sandos.
I know it's a difficult name. I understand it's sourdough. I'm not going to repeat everything that everyone has already said. I'm definitely in support of this school staying K through 5th grade. Just to give you guys just a little history for myself, my baby came from a private school. I had the idea, okay, private school is where it's at. In a very short period of time, we did not have a good experience. I will say I was apprehensive in the beginning coming to the school, and I know I give the principal and my baby teachers a hard time because I'm that mom, but they have really come through for my child. My baby, he has his struggles. He is reading now. The supports here has been amazing for him. And the idea that he would have to go to a new school, it's scary for me because he just left another school. So I would say please keep the school as it is. I have so much respect for the staff. I am what you would probably consider a helicopter mom. That is me. And I don't have a whole lot of trust, but I would say that They have earned my trust, they have earned my respect. I have heard good things about the school. My dad, he went to the school. It wasn't an elementary school, obviously, but he went to the school, so the school, it's a rich history, and it would be a shame to turn this school into anything but what it has always been, which is something great. Thank you.
Blake Wiggs. Blake Wiggs.
How's it going, people? My name is Blake Wiggs, and I got 4 minutes and 56 seconds. So I don't want to repeat what everybody else has said, but I'll say this. This is a timeless story. Oftentimes, people that
Blake, you need to talk to us.
Yes, direct your comments this way, please.
Okay, I'll talk to you. Oftentimes, white folks in power make decisions for others, predominantly black and brown communities. And it happens all the time, whether we're talking about J.T. Barber or we're talking about, I don't know, other spaces that live here as well, especially after Hurricane Florence. During Hurricane Florence, one of the things that I said often was, this is a moment in time where we're either going to build back with equity in mind, or we are going to further silence and further marginalize already vulnerable, marginalized communities. This is another one of those discussions where you're at this moment in time where you can make a decision that's going to build back better or not. And it doesn't really matter, like in my mind, the process is the problem. You cannot create solutions for people. You have to build them with people. And that requires trust and relationships and a commitment to returning when it's uncomfortable. I'm just kind of speechless because it's the same narrative. I heard cultural genocide. There's not much difference between colonization and gentrification. It's the same thing. You decentralize the power structures, you give certain populations certain things, others not.
Mr. Wiggs, direct your comments toward the board, please.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. And I have the utmost respect for each of you. I know everyone's heart's in the right place. Decisions are hard. My only charge, encouragement, is to please involve people. Nobody knows their community better than their community. Is expanded pre-K amazing? Absolutely. Is a family literacy program here amazing? Absolutely. But is it what the community wants? And that's the question. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Deshante Jenkins.
My name is Dashanae, and I just want to say I have 2 children that currently go here, and I'm thankful enough that I live in walking distance because I don't always have a car to come get them. There's a lot of times I get a phone call that my kids need to be picked up, and I don't always have a car. So I'm able to come get them. I'm not able to do that if they go to another school. So they'll be just putting me in a bind, basically. That's all. Thank you.
Patricia Davis, parent. Patricia Davis.
Good evening. I just want to say, I'm not going to piggyback off nobody, but I just want to say that when you uproot children to somewhere else, and the children is used to the teachers, the principal, and everybody that they used to, and you uproot them, and take them to another school. I know from experience, it's not good. It is not good because the children is used to where they used to be. And when they go to a new school, then it upsets them. They don't learn as good as they did when they were in the school they were in. And so it's just a bad way to uproot children. Thanks.
Rayleigh Sutherland, student.
Want to introduce yourself? Tell them your name.
My name is Raleigh.
And you're in the second grade.
And I'm in second grade.
And what would you like to do to keep your school?
I want to keep my school safe.
All right. I'm Raleah's aunt, and I felt that it was very important that she come tonight, just so that she'll be aware of the changes that may be coming to J.T. Barber Elementary School. We live 100 yards away. So Raleigh moved here 2 years ago, right after the pandemic, when schools opened back up. And it's been a blessing because I also attended this school. I graduated, I was one of the first students to graduate when it became an elementary school back in the early 90s. I graduated 5th grade here. And my father also attended here in '67. So we're the third generation here in this community, at this school. And I just want to mention one thing, trauma. You got to think about that, educational trauma. That's where the system is not for them. That's where a lot of these kids that walk, I walk with Raleigh in the mornings, I see them, they're all walking. I know if any time the school calls, I'm here in probably 2 minutes because I can walk on over. I have a car, yes, but we walk. We get to know all the kids, we get to wave at all the neighbors, and it's convenient when there's after-school programs, fall carnivals. A lot of these families walk, and if their parents can't come with them, they come with me, the kids. So I think to, bus these kids to other schools, especially schools that are several miles away across the bridge. I heard Bridgeton, I'm hearing all kinds of things. It doesn't sound like there's a concrete plan, and we're already ending the school year, about to go into another school year. It'll happen just that fast. And I don't want these families scrambling, trying to figure things out. They're already still dealing with the pandemic, a lot of the residual effects of that, as well as transportation barriers. We don't have a public transportation system that's extensive here in the city. I think the CARTS van, but I doubt they'll take a parent over there to Bridgeton to get their kid. So I just want you guys to just, think about that, trauma. What effect would this have on Raleigh and her classmates? Thank you.
Shanika or Sharika Hodges?
Hello, my name is Shanika Hodges. 2 of my children go here, and they've been going here for the past 3 years. First I would say is this: change, some people are afraid of change, and then sometimes change will happen, and then sometimes change don't need to happen. And this is one of the times it don't need to happen. I believe J.T. Barber need to stay as it is, with no changes, besides good resources for the teachers, for the principals, for the students. I know my kids, they don't do too well with change. They really don't. Even when we move, they don't do too good with change. So I can just imagine how my son Christian or my son Jeremiah will act upon having to leave their school, possibly leaving their teachers that they have definitely fell in love with since they've been here. One teacher had one of my kids, Christian, for 2 years, so she knows him well. And it's because she went from one grade to the next grade, and she got to ask to keep her kids, and they let her do that, which I was very glad of that, because he's very not so trusting with people. So I feel as though that changed, we should make this change. Then again, look at us, it takes a village. We were raised up with this, most of us, I know I was, it takes a village. And look at us, we out here tonight, well, Mom would say night 'cause it's dark, preaching like begging. Sometimes it takes a lot. I'm African American, I'm black, y'all see? It takes a lot for us to even beg and ask anybody to help us or keep things a certain way that need to stay that way. And we're asking, we're begging, we're pleading. I've heard it, I don't have to go over what everybody else saying. Y'all heard it, I heard it. I just feel as though we should not make this change. We should not be so quick to make a change like this without really thinking. What if it was your children? Maybe some of y'all children go here. Maybe some of y'all grandkids go here. Would y'all really want to just uproot them and put them somewhere where they don't know nobody? How would that make you feel if somebody uproots you and put you somewhere where you don't know nobody? So I'm all for keeping J.T. Barber as it is with the resources that y'all can give this school. I'm happy about the new principal that we got. I like the other one, but I like this one. He's loving, he's kind. The teachers that my kids have had, they're loving, they're kind, they're understanding. I'm one of those parents that, yeah, like if my kids are good, I want to know. If my kids cutting up, they know, I want to know. But I feel as though, and I'm not the only parent that has a child like that goes here. We all cut up. We ain't always been good. We ain't always sat still like y'all sitting. We have all done things. But I feel as though we should not look like the place is talking about not wanting the kids from here because of the behaviors. I'm pretty sure somebody at that school act probably worse than our kids here. So I'm just saying, if you think about it, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, purple, orange, green. We all, come on, that's what I'm saying. We can't just stick there. I just feel as though, me as a parent, y'all, we are all parents. It takes a village, and we have came here, we have come together, which is good. New Bern, seeing people come together, we ain't fighting. I don't think it's because the officers in the back, because we don't even care sometimes to the officers, but I'm just saying, we sitting in here, we're begging, we're asking, we're pleading. We see them, we see y'all, but we're here asking, and we're getting along. Can y'all believe it? New Bern getting along, yeah, we getting along, can you believe that? And we're begging and asking for this, so please take it into consideration. I know at the end of the day, y'all gonna do what y'all wanna do. But I'm asking as a single mom, and I'm a single mom of 4, but I'm doing it though. Let's not uproot the children. Please, let's not do that. That's all I gotta say.
Julissa Berry.
Hello, thank you all for allowing me to speak. I am the mother of a J.T. Barber Croc, and my son is actually struggling here at J.T. Barber. He's actually repeated the kindergarten. So I would like to keep J.T. Barber as a K through 5, but we need more resources. The school has an F, so I feel like I'm not sure if it's my child or if it's Craven County, J.T. Barber. I'm not sure who's failing him. If you guys need the parents in the community to do more, please be transparent with us and ask us, reach out, let us know what you need. I can volunteer, I can give time, money, whatever it is needed to make J.T. Barber better. I am willing to step up to the plate and do more. This is a historic school. My father went to this school, but I'm all about change. If you guys have a good plan for these kids to make them successful, then I'm with that. But I live on Beaufort Street, so sometimes me and my child, we do walk to school, but we have the option to drive or even to go to another school. So, whatever's best for the kids, that's what I'm for. But I do enjoy walking my son to school each day, but I'm not sure, and I would like answers from the board. You guys represent us. I need help. We need help. This school needs help. It doesn't have to stay the same, but it needs to be made a better place. We need I'm not sure, exactly what we need, more resources. From the things I'm hearing, we don't have proper funding. The playground outside looks horrible. It's kind of icky in this place. These old curtains look like they were here back when J.T. Barber was here. So, I don't know if it's lead-based paint. I don't want it to be a black and white issue. These are kids, small children that we're talking about. If we give them a good education, a safe place, they'll be better citizens. And you won't have to worry about them, out doing things that they shouldn't be doing because they'll have a good foundation here at J.T. Barber. So I just ask for you all's unbiased opinion. Don't look at it like, oh, these are poor kids, because not all the kids here are poor. They're not all underprivileged. Some of them do have other options, but I want to be a part of this community. I want my son to go to this school and be a productive part of this community. So again, I just ask that you guys, make the best decision. Give us more options, better options. Just transparency is what I'm asking for. Again, I do want J.T. Barber to remain K through 5, but I personally need more help because, again, my son is struggling. He has a tutor. His teachers help. They provide extra assistance. Mr. Willis is trying to change the narrative, and I can honestly say that so far I have seen a difference since we've been under new leadership, and I just want to keep going with that, and I want the resources. And again, if you guys need parent support, community outreach, ask for that. I know I'm personally willing to help and do whatever I can to support this school, so please take that into consideration. I'll rally, I'll flyers, posters, anything. As a parent here, I'm willing to help, so, please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Barbara Sampson.
Giving honor to God. Good evening to you all. Yes, my name is Barbara Sampson. I'm the daughter of the late Commissioner Johnny Sampson, Jr., and the daughter of the Reverend Ethel Sampson, the one that just turned 90. They worked in the community, and now it's up to me as their daughter to take up the helm and start working in the community. I'm a voice for the voiceless. I'm a voice for those who want to speak out but don't know how to speak out. J.T. Barber is a staple of our community. I remember when it was a high school. I remember when it was just the 9th grade. I went there. I remember now it's pre-K to 5. I have a grandbaby who used to go here. Well, he's 15 years old, but I still say he's my grandbaby. I have nephew. I have friends, grandchildren that go here. So this place, we don't need you all to take this away from us because we need J.T. Barber. It has consistency. People can walk the children to school. And if I have to come get my nephew, I don't have that far to go. And I just want you all to please consider keeping J.T. Barber just like it is. But I look at the grass. I don't look at the glass half empty. I look at the glass half full because you all gave us this opportunity, this forum, to state what we want. And I hope you all don't do like a whole lot of other boards. Let us state what we want and then do what they want to do anyway. Because we know that you know what the community want. They've been saying it all night, what they want. We want it to stay just like it is. Don't take it away from us. And anything that needs to be done extra, you got to spend a little extra money, that's all right. We are taxpayers. And thank you, and God be with you.
Mr. Chairman, that is all.
Thank you, sir. that concludes our public hearing. We will adjourn from the public hearing portion. We will take a break, 10-minute break, and then we will return with our regular agenda. call our meeting back to order. Moving on in our agenda tonight. Next up on the agenda is discussion of the J.T. Barber Elementary repurposing, a time for our board to consider, review, and have discussion about the possibility of repurposing J.T. Barber into a pre-K center. I open the floor up for any board member. All right, Ms. Muse?
I actually have some questions. I'm sorry. I actually have some questions for Dr. Miller. We heard a lot tonight about resources, Dr. Miller. Can you please explain how resources work in a school as far as, and I think people are confusing resources with like parent-driven initiatives and different things like that. So can you please explain how resources are put into a school?
Much of the resources are decided on based on ADM, but a school also has Title I funds, which J.T. Barber qualifies for, and other federal and local funding that goes to the school. The district provides support such as district curriculum, coaches to support the teachers in instructional practices, and other things of that manner. And then there's money that's sent to the school that their school improvement team uses to decide what initiatives are needed at that school to improve results.
So the money that's sent to each individual school, those schools have the freedom to spend that money on whatever leadership, teachers, guidance counselors, whatever they feel is needed in that particular school.
As long as it aligns with their plans and their goals of their school, the school improvement team can get together and decide how to use those funds that are sent to the school from the district.
I know our finance officer was here earlier, and I know depending on the size of the school would determine, I mean, I'm sure like New Bern High School would get more than like an elementary school because, I mean, there's, I don't know, however, 1,500 kids that go there. So, can you tell me how much money J.T. Barber received this year?
I have this, the board asked for some information, and I have per pupil funding by many of the schools in the area. Would you like me to go through all of those or just at J.T. Barber?
I would like for you to go through all of them, please.
Okay, so Bangor received $13,000 per student, Bendy Quinn $14,000, Bridgeton $13,000, Brinson $14,000, Oaks Road $13,000, Trent Park $12,000, and J.T. Barber $15,000.
Okay, so can you tell me if, since we're talking about J.T. Barber specifically this evening, can you tell me if they used all of those funds on needs for their school for resources, or how did that work?
I know there was a spending deadline, and J.T. Barber did send back $9,300 of unused funds to the district.
So out of $16,000 that they received, they sent back $9,000, so they only...
No, this was per student.
Per student.
They sent back a total of $9,300 of unspent funds.
Okay. And I also need you to explain, because, you know, we've heard a lot about will we have room at J.T. Barber if we leave it a K through 5 school to implement the preschool program and all of the benefits, which would be like the dental stuff, the medical stuff that we could partner with the health department on? Would we be able to still do that here at J.T. Barber and have like a hybrid plan?
There would not be the capacity to do that if we keep it a K-5 school.
Okay.
All right.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Ms. Muse. Ms. Dacey?
Thank you. Just a follow-up, Dr. Miller. And so with regard to Ms. Muse's question, I actually forgot my train of thought. Okay, it's on. Mine's on. It's not registering at all?
Now it is.
Okay. It has to be right here. Okay, so can you give the public a bit of an explanation as to what Restart is, and what that consists of, and what that timeline will be like?
And I'd be happy to do that, but I would really prefer to call Ms. Michelle Lee. She's the head of Restart and has also been through the process as a school principal, and I think she would be best to answer those questions.
Okay.
You don't have to speak up. Okay, can everybody hear me? All right, so Restart is one of the models for rebranding or restructuring or reinventing, I guess, schools that are historically low-performing. So Craven County Schools had two Restart models, the Oaks Road Academy and Roger Bell New Tech Academy, that we began some years ago, and I was very fortunate to be able to be the principal at Roger Bell during that time. So I guess that's why I'm the one who knows it. So anyway, that model is one of three, or I think there's four models, one of four models. The Restart model is designed to give charter-like flexibilities to a public school. So we frequently hear about how charter schools have flexibilities or have opportunities to use funding and do things outside of the way the traditional public schools have to operate. So for those people who don't know what that means, it means that when public schools are funded, they are funded in very stringent line items. Money is dropped down, it's in a line item, you have very specific guidelines on how you have to spend the money. You can't move money from PRC code to PRC code or from line item to line item, for the most part without, you either can't do it or it takes an amendment to do it, and it's very stringent. So that is one of the criteria. Charter school flexibilities, and what happens in our charter schools are that when the money is dropped down, it's dropped down more like in a bucket. And the school has they have the opportunity to decide how the money is spent. They have a board of directors that kind of manage that, and they can decide, well, we want to spend this amount of money on staffing, or this amount of money on supplies, or however that works out. They don't have the stringent control that public school units deal with in the funding process. So funding is a huge piece, and what it does for a Restart school, because we can follow the charter model for that and have these charter-like flexibilities, it allows you to trade out your state-allotted monies that you get for positions, and you can trade it out for dollar amounts. So that gives a school flexibility with who they hire, what their certifications are. An example of this is when I was at Roger Bell, I needed a music teacher, and I was able to go into the community and found a lady who had been teaching music and piano to the community in Harlow for 25 years, and I was able to, she didn't have anything but a high school diploma. Well, you can't bring that, you can't hire, she wouldn't be hireable as a classroom teacher in that environment. I was able to do that, and had some flexibility with the hiring. Now, there are still some very strict guidelines. Your EC program and your CTE program has to be, you cannot hire outside of their certification. Also, 50% of your core teachers have to be certified. So there still are guidelines, but you do have some flexibility. And because your money is all in one pot, you have the opportunity to move it around and decide how you want to spend it. So flexibilities like funding, staffing, curriculum decisions, that's one. I mean, you could, there is no Restart model that has done this at the last Restart meeting I went to, but you could actually write your own curriculum and decide to follow a completely different version. That's not very smart because our kids still have to integrate tests, so you want to make sure the curriculum is aligning to how they're going to be assessed. So those are some examples of what Restart offers.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, you finished.
What I was going to add to that is, though, it is a very difficult process. It is a lot. And I'm not saying that no one's not willing to do the work, but it is a lot of work. And it's a lot of work when you are 100% at capacity. When you don't have as many educators and you're already stretched thin and you have a lot of turnover, and every time you get a new crop of teachers or a new group of educators and you have to start that PD process over, it makes it difficult. We have had 3 administrators at J.T. Barber over the last, I think someone said 5-6 years. So those are things that have to be taken into account, because it is not just a matter of getting the money and running the school through a Restart model. There's a lot, and there's a lot of community building that has to happen.
Right.
So when we were approved for Restart in July of 2021, this school year was our planning year, and implementation would be next school year, the 23-24 school year.
Okay. So I know we had a parent mention, we've had a lot of people mention, and the reason that I insisted that I really wanted this hearing, we needed full transparency about all of this, right? And we all deserve that. So can you go back and explain how we got to a point where, and 3 of us are new here, but this board approved Restart for J.T. Barber. So can you walk through what led up to that, because I want people to understand a little bit about where we're coming from, and now we're going to start this, if that's the decision, we would start this Restart process, and then what that looks like going forward, and how much community investment we need in this school and this whole process. So if you can speak to how we got there, and yes.
My years are running together, so when I left Roger Bell, and I don't know what year that was. That's the bad thing, I don't know. So this is 1, 2, 3. So 4 years ago, I guess,
Okay.
yeah. When I came to the board, the former superintendent asked me to work with the administration here to come up with some ways to not just improve achievement, but to help come up with ways to recruit additional students, because enrollment was decreasing at this school. And we did that. And I will say that had it not been for the pandemic, I do believe that the school was on a trajectory to show some growth and improvement. That was the year that this school was allowed to do the modified year-round calendar. They had some really good things going on at the school, and unfortunately, COVID came and they didn't take their end-of-grade test that year. So when we came back to school after COVID.
Okay, and hold on, I just want everybody to understand that when we took that COVID year, we missed a whole year of data.
That's correct.
Statewide, nobody has data for that particular school year. So in a sense, we get a whole pause from the Department of Public Instruction, who kind of oversees everything we do, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. So
All right.
but we all, I must say, we all were very confident that the school, had we had the opportunity to test, our children at J.T. Barber would have shown growth. We felt really comfortable with that. Lots of good things happening. The world of pandemic hit, we didn't test, we didn't come back to school at the beginning of the next school year. We spent basically a solid school year in limbo, if you will, where we were. So when we came back to school, the board at that time decided that they felt like everybody, because we were coming back with A schedule, B schedule. Some kids came to school 2 days a week, some came 3 days a week. And the board at that time felt that J.T. Barber did not need to be on a different calendar than the rest of our schools because of transportation and the way we were bringing kids in and all of those things. So they were not allowed to restart their year-round model that they were doing. That was frustrating to a lot of the school staff and the community, but at the time, everybody was in a pandemic trying to figure out what to do next. So fast forward a little bit of time, the principal at that time came to the school, to a cabinet meeting, and she was frustrated that, she felt that things were going in the right direction and they had hit a wall, basically. At that point, my recommendation was should we consider a restart for this school? Because we had it be effective. We knew that there were the opportunity to make something really great work here. And so we applied for restart status. In July of 2021, I'm sorry, am I?
No, but in the face of transparency, let's tell all of what happened. The principal here at that time submitted her resignation.
That is correct.
And then the principal that was here at that time, after, I don't know, a couple weeks maybe, how long was it, Dr. Miller? It was a few weeks. So then she pulled her resignation back and said she wanted to stay.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
So in the face of transparency, we've had 3 principals at J.T. Barber, right? Since, like Hurricane Florence.
Yes.
And we're fixing to get what? And we're fixing to get what, Ms. Lee?
Another administrator.
I don't know, I just know that
just be reminded, no talking from the audience.
So we're going to start a restart. I know that the teachers here are committed to it, but that's what's happened with J.T. Barber. So what happens when you do a restart school if you can't get through it? What happens at the end of trying to do a restart? What happens if you don't get all the way through it?
So there's a formula for making academic gains. There's several ways that you can make academic gains, but at the end of it's a 5-year renewal cycle. At the end of the 5th year, if you haven't made the gains and fixed it, it doesn't mean it would happen, but it could happen that the state would come in and take over the running of the school. That doesn't mean it will happen, because they can put other things in place, but that would be worst case scenario.
Mr. Alcock?
I know there's a feeling that the equity is not there in terms of funding per pupil here versus some other schools, but the information that the superintendent presented with us tonight indicates that actually there are more funds per student at J.T. Barber than the other New Bern schools, Bridgeton and Brinson included. So it raises the question, how can that be? Would you speak, Dr. Miller, could you speak to how the funding is calculated that
Well,
results in that?
some of it would depend on the Title I status of a school and the funding they get to support their programs, and a lot of it's based on that. So some of it is sent by the district, and then some, as we already discussed, the school has the opportunity to discuss the needs and channel that money to support the resources, whether they be people or instructional materials, et cetera, that the school would determine would be useful to their school. And if I can speak just a little more, Mr. Alcock, about that, the difference in that and a restart model is instead of saying, this is your money for staff, this is your money for resources, this is your money for tutors, whatever it be, they would get their pot of money and they decide in a restart model what they use for staff, what type of staff is hired, if they are certified up to a certain percent, as Ms. Lee said. So there's more school engagement in the funding at a restart school.
Right. Also, I believe we pay, in some cases, supplements to recruit.
We do. We've paid master teachers an additional supplement to come to our low-performing schools to assist in those schools. And J.T. Barber does have one master teacher.
And so, of course, that increases the cost a little bit. The other thing that feeds into the equation is the student population total, because you have the same administrative load where you might have a school that's got 500 students versus a school that's only has 300 students.
Correct.
So that tends to weight it that way. But it's not a case that the board has ever had a discussion about less resources or a lack of equity funding for all the schools. I mean, we look at all the students pretty much the same. We want to make sure the funds are there to support their education progress, whichever school they're in. There are some things that happen, though, that are outside of our control, and one of them is the ability to recruit and staff fully every classroom in a school. And if you can't do that, if you're having to have long-term substitutes, and bless their hearts, thank you for the help, but it's not the same situation as having certified staff and that stability in every classroom. I believe that might be a case we have here.
And that is critical in a restart model to try to reduce that staff turnover and the commitment of the staff to work together to decide what their model's going to, what the spearhead of their model's going to be.
I'll just make one more quick comment if I can. I did watch Mrs. Lee in Restart at Roger Bell New Tech Academy, and we've seen Restart there at Oaks Road. One of the first things that happened at Roger Bell New Tech Academy is a number of students that we were losing across the river every day, those families came back because of the energy that was being built into the school around this idea of Restart. It's an energizing process for the community and an investment, an ask of the community and an investment by the community back into the school. And so the population went up there, which was something we needed very much, and the success of the students also. You know, when the community is involved in the education of every student, the student success goes up too. The last question I would ask is, what is the status of volunteerism in the schools right now? Are we back or are we still needing that support?
And I would have to defer the staff. Certainly, we need the support. I'm very heartened tonight to hear the community say we're willing to step up and help. I would have to defer to staff about the number of volunteers and, how engaged they are on a weekly basis.
Nobody, anything down here?
I'm Anna Day, I'm the assistant principal, for those of you who don't know me. We have a wonderful family with Garber. We have 6 or 7 members from Garber that are here every morning. They stand in our different hallways to greet the buses every morning. They are greeting the doors, helping open doors for the kids coming in through car riders. They will walk kindergartners down to their classrooms. They check in on the teachers. We did a color run for PBIS last 9 weeks, and several of them bought T-shirts, white T-shirts, for an entire class of students so that they would have a white T-shirt to wear. Every Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, Halloween, they donate cupcakes or cookies and juice boxes so that every classroom in the school, including our pre-K kids, get something. They can have a little class party at the end of the day. We get more backpack blessings from them than any other school by, I think, 3 times. 2 or 3 times the amount of everybody else. So they are here in full force, and we welcome them all the time.
Good. All right, is there any other questions or comments or review from board members? Yes, yes. Mr. Ippott, did you have something?
I didn't know.
I think she does. Are you ready? Go ahead, Mr. Ippott.
Oh, no, I was.
Oh, good. All right, Ms. Kitzinger?
We haven't made a motion. There's no motion. There'll be discussion on the motion.
All right, well, it sounds like if there are no other questions at this time, and taking action tonight, would there be a motion? Dr. Miller made a recommendation in the beginning of our meeting tonight, and at this time, I would entertain a motion.
So moved. I move that we adopt Dr. Miller's recommendation and that J.T. Barber remain a K-5 school.
I second.
Would there be a second? Mr. Ippott, second?
Second.
All right, got you. All right, any discussion on the motion? All right, Ms. Muse?
So when you make the motion for J.T. Barber to stay K-5, are you talking about them doing the restart model, or are we going to have more conversation? We're going to leave it as a K-5 school right now, and then we're going to have some more discussion with staff about being a restart model over the next couple of weeks, or are we just going to roll with the restart model?
Recommendation of the superintendent.
I see all eyes on me. So are you asking me to recommend what I believe should happen? I believe J.T. Barber should continue their journey and have another year of planning for restart so they can engage their staff in the decision of what's best to turn the school around.
Okay.
I thought that was the motion. Yeah.
Very good. All right, any other discussion on the motion? Ms. Casey?
Yes, so I want to, my name is Jennifer Dacey, for those of you I have not met, and I represent J.T. Barber. This is my school board district. And I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Your voices were heard tonight. They are important. They are valued. And I'm going to continue to fight for your school, and I want you all to join me in that fight so that it can remain in this community. I believe that sunlight is always the best disinfectant. This is particularly the case with everything that we do as a board. Because like it or not, the public feels as though this board has not been transparent in the past, whether that was COVID policy we're talking about or past redistricting. We can all think of examples. And mine may not be the same as yours, but we can and we must do better. My hope and prayer is that as a board, we will learn from the last few weeks of discussion and also from our mistakes. Yes, we can, and we'll say the word, mistakes. I have 3 takeaways from this entire discussion. First, no plan is a real plan until it is presented on paper. When we are forced to commit ideas to paper, we focus in a way we do not when just talking out loud. We need to see details and data before we are ready to discuss big changes in the lives of our students and their families. I, for one, will not try out any new idea when I cannot be assured that it is in our students' best interest, period. Second, this board was elected to lead, and it needs to stop leading from behind. We set the agenda, and we need to be sure that when we do so, we are not actively damaging our students, staff, and schools in the process. There's no question that the timing of this whole discussion has cost J.T. Barber. We've lost staff and caused confusion for countless families. Our goal should always be to help our customers, not make life unnecessarily more difficult. Third and finally, as a board, we have a lot of work to do, and we need to use the summer to start to tackle the big issues, such as exactly how Restart looks for J.T. Barber, what should be our strategic plan as a district, do we need to begin to redistrict now? What are we going to do with all of our facilities? We have a lot of them, as many of you know. Which need to close, which need to be rapidly expanded, and which need to be renovated or remodeled to adapt to our changing needs. So I look forward to these discussions, and I thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Lacy. Is there any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? All right, roll call vote.
And I'm going to repeat the motion, and the motion is to keep J.T. Barber K-5 school with the pre-classes that already exist here.
That's correct.
Mr. Brent Manning.
Yes.
Mr. Scott Murphy.
Yes.
Ms. Jennifer Dacey.
Yes.
Mr. Carr Ipop.
Yes.
Ms. Lauren Kitzinger.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly Muse.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
The motion passes unanimously. At this time, I direct our superintendent, Dr. Miller, to facilitate a plus delta of the evaluation of the Board of Education special called meeting.
Board members, in thinking about what worked tonight, what are our pluses?
Kelly? Ms. Lee, sorry.
It's nice to see the teachers that we have at J.T. Barber, the guidance counselors that we have at J.T. Barber, so invested in their school, their community, and their children. And it was wonderful tonight to hear the passionate people of the J.T. Barber community come and speak for their children and for their school. And I just want to thank everybody for handling this meeting because, I mean, emotions run high when it's something that you really care about. And everybody conducted themselves at this meeting tonight with so much grace. And I just want you to know how much I really appreciate that.
Other pluses. Other pluses.
Ms. Kitzinger?
I really love the way that can y'all hear me? I have the worst time with these things.
Okay.
How about now? Okay. I love the way that we all came together 2 weeks ago. this was a disaster. I think even maybe this morning it might have been a disaster. But we really came together and made sense of what made no sense at all. And I think I'm really proud of us, and I'm really proud of you guys for coming out and speaking your hearts, and I really appreciate it. This is what community is, and this is why we're here, because without you, we have no purpose up here. And I hope that you guys understand that.
Other pluses?
Ms. Stacy?
Well, we've all said we really appreciate all of the input, and I have had so many conversations. This is actually a drop in the bucket to all the time that I have spent learning about and talking about J.T. Barber the last 2 weeks. So I have met people who started their teaching career in this building when it was the 9th grade school. I didn't know it had been the 9th grade school. I have learned all kinds of details about the history of this fantastic place. And I want to thank all of the people who took their time to call me on the phone or send me emails or sent us messages through Parent Talk from all of our schools, all of our retired administrators, everybody who had a word or a thought about what is happening here and what's in the best interests of our students. So I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart. And I also, since we didn't really talk enough about the pre-K, I do want to say about the pre-K, I've done some reading on the pre-K. We all think pre-K is great. I do want people in the public to know how much pre-K we're doing here and how much we're doing around the county. So I think maybe we need to do a little bit more education, even among our own staff, about the great asset that is to employees of Craven County Schools. So, that's all.
Other pluses, what worked?
Mr. Ipock?
Well, it was a real pleasure to hear so many people step forward and talk about how important J.T. Barber is as a community school. We can't necessarily design, without redistricting certainly, the population that was impacted by Matthew, Florence, and then COVID moved a lot of families out of J.T. Barber. And if we look at some of the surrounding schools, we see that that's where a lot of those families now are. So it was a negative impact on J.T. Barber. But the fact remains, the reason that it was selected to be a community school in times past in redistricting is because of how important the school is to this community. So thank you for coming and sharing that with us.
Other pluses?
I've enjoyed hearing from the community tonight, and excited to see how much they want to engage in the school. And I'd like to see how much it's going to be engaging in the future.
Any other pluses? In an effort to always improve and get better, what deltas do we have? It would even be better if?
I would just say, if we could hear every word that was said. It's difficult under these circumstances, and especially in a room that's reverberating somewhat, but we continue to work on our sound systems and trying to help people step up to the mic closely so they can be heard.
Other deltas?
Ms. Muse?
I want to apologize to anyone that thinks that these conversations or the initial bringing to light of this situation was a gotcha, or, I mean, we've known for a while the commissioner's expectations of us to re-examine our facilities and implement that facility plan. I believe the term was, sometimes hard conversations have to be started by just ripping the Band-Aid off. And I don't want to speak for Dr. Miller, but I think that's what she tried to do. And so I'm just going to say it. She's a new superintendent, and she's never been put in this position before to have to navigate this. And we, as a board, have, well, you have, Carr, sorry. We've never navigated this either. So I appreciate the grace that you all have shown us, and I hope that you realize that all of us have the best interest of Craven County school kids at heart. And so I think the next time when we have to navigate something like this, we've learned a lot from this experience. So I just really appreciate all of y'all showing us grace.
Other deltas? That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Could I add one more plus? I appreciate each speaker that came forward, but I especially appreciated seeing students stand up and be recognized.
All right, thank you so much. At this time, I would entertain a motion from the Board of Education to adjourn the May 3rd, 2023 special called meeting. So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please let it be known by the raising of your right hand. We are adjourned.